My name is Elizabeth Battaglia. I'm a retired reading teacher from Rondout Valley, and I wrote a book called George and Janine about my parents meeting just after World War II. I was born in London, but I spent my summers where my mother was brought up on the French Riviera in Saint-Tropez. So I am English, but I had a lot of exposure to the... I went to college in England to become a teacher. It was called Goldsmiths College in London. And before I started teaching, I wanted to see America. So I came over to teach in a summer camp where I met my husband, Vince, in a summer camp in Kent, Connecticut. We actually got married twice. We got married once in England at a registry office for my English family, and then we came over to America and had a crazy Italian wedding in the Bronx. I'd never seen a bigger wedding in my life. It was wonderful. When we moved up here from the Bronx, I became a teacher in the Catholic school Sacred Heart in Newburgh, and I loved it. Then when I became a reading teacher, I moved to public school, worked at Rondout Valley, at Cohonson specifically. Hey Cohonson! And I've lived in Walden now for nearly 30 years. Just over 2 years ago, my mother asked my sister, who lives in England, and myself, if we would take her back to the town she was brought up in. And it's called Saint-Tropez, and it's on the French Riviera. She wanted to see it one more time. So she was in a wheelchair at that time, but we had fun. It was kind of hard. We took her on a plane. We went to Saint-Tropez, and my mother had so much energy, and we had a wonderful time. She reminisced a lot about living there, about meeting my father. I heard some stories I'd never heard before, and I decided I needed to write this down. The whole time we were in Saint-Tropez, my mother was reminiscing about the past, what Saint-Tropez used to be like, meeting my father there, her friends. So I stopped one day and said, Mom, let's sit down, and I actually interviewed her using my cell phone. And I had everything on the cell phone. When I got back home, I transcribed it onto very slowly because I don't type fast. I turned it off and on, but I did it. Everything she said was written down, and I made my own book of her memoirs, adding family photographs where appropriate. This is the memoirs that I published myself, and I gave them, it was specifically done for me to give to my two daughters. I gave it to them as Christmas gifts, and they loved it, as I knew they would. Now they will have that to hand down, and those memories will never be lost. I think that's very important. My daughters then suggested, both of them, that I write down the story at length about my parents' meeting and how that happened. So a friend of my daughter, Mary, who lived in Beacon, his name is Richard Kelly, runs a publishing company, and we met together, and he asked me to send him a draft of this story. I wrote it in 2 months while I was in Florida. I had time, I was away from all distractions, spent the winter there because I just retired, wonderful, and he liked it. I was so happy. So then after many more drafts and his editing and ideas, the first part was published on my mother's birthday this year, June the 16th. In the process of doing this, obviously I spoke to friends and family about what I was doing, and many of them said, I wish I had done the same thing. I wish I'd spoken to my grandparents. I wish I'd spoken to my parents. And I say it's not too late. Even if your parents are not here now, you have those memories. Write them down before you forget. You can write these memoirs down yourself and publish them. Do that before it's forgotten. And some of them are doing that. So please, I suggest, if you've always said that, write it down now. Go and interview someone in the family. Find old family photographs, put them together, and you will have something that's never forgotten.